The Jungle Cup is on its way to the Go Battle League, but what Pokemon are the best choices for this new cup? Well, join us as we break down some top choices along with some sample teams to try out, so let's get into it. Welcome back everyone. The Jungle Cup comes for the next 2 weeks in the Go Battle League, and we've actually seen a variation on this cup before, seeing that we had the Little Jungle Cup before this. Now we'll be seeing the format return with the same 8 types, just in the Great League format this time. Here, only normal, grass, electric, poison, ground, flying, bug, and dark types will be allowed, and both Gligar and Galarian Stunfisk will be banned. With 8 types available, this certainly allows for a wider variety of Pokemon compared to something like the Spring Cup's 3 types. But I'll be breaking down 1 or 2 Pokemon per type, and then detailing some sample teams, so let's get right into it. Now starting off with the normal type, and it's not surprising that Vigoroth makes the cut, with it having a huge presence in every format it's in. Not really much to break down, but it will be a huge Pokemon, so having members of your team who resist its moves, mainly flying, poison, or bug type Pokemon, will certainly be handy to counter it. And other normal types like Diggersby, Lickitung, and even Dunsparce will have play here as well. Now moving over to the poison types, it's important to be able to counter Vigoroth, so up first we have Clodsire. Clodsire is obviously very bulky, and its poison ground typing makes it only vulnerable to Vigoroth's Body Slam, but its hard-hitting moves help it out otherwise. It'll obviously struggle against other ground types, especially those with a water subtyping like Swampert and Whiscash, but it makes for a great defensive wall to a lot of the meta with great coverage. On the other side of the type we have Dragalge, who has nice bulk, but is nowhere near the level of Clodsire. However, it has nice pressure with Dragon Tail and the spammy but strong Aqua Tail. Dragon Water coverage is great in this meta, only being vulnerable to a few Pokemon. I know this is likely a choice I'll try out. But moving over to the grass typing, and we have Ferrothorn. Interestingly, it and Dragalge resist all of each other's moves, but Dragalge does come on top with its overall stronger chip damage. Nonetheless, I still find Ferrothorn to be a reasonably strong Pokemon in this meta. Its bulk and steel typing give it a nice defensive edge over some of the other grass types. I'd recommend Thunder for the secondary move so you have more to threaten Pokemon like Mandibuzz, but depending on the Pokemon you see, I could maybe see Flash Cannon as a viable option. Another grass type that is often a staple of limited formats is Abomasnow. Now Abomasnow has 2 movesets that are generally viable. If you're running the standard version, Icy Wind is often the better option, but in the Shadow form, Weather Ball is better for quicker damage. Abomasnow does fear Vigoroth along with the various poison types, but Ice is still a great offensive typing, letting you threaten Dragalge and other grass types along with Flying and Ground, both of which will be very present here. And grass does have some other great choices, from Cradily, who shares a lot in common with Ferrothorn, to Trevenant, who remains a nice offensive ghost type. Next we have the bug typing, where the only bug I'd really like to highlight is Charjabug, being a Pokemon who often works as a great anti-meta pick with water, flying, and fighting types running around. And that's very much the case for this cup. It also scores bonus points in being able to counter the grass and dark types. While Charjabug can take hits well, I would still plan around countering ground types when using it on a team. And I suppose while the other bug types aren't too significant, I will say that Buzzwole could be a unique choice, seeing that it has counter and also resists Vigoroth's counter. Now onto the electric type, and aside from Charjabug, there aren't too many of this type I'd like to talk about either. I'll throw a highlight to Stunfisk though, the Unova version, who has very nice coverage with ground and electric moves, in addition to its bulk. It does struggle against grass, and the water and ground types too, so I would recommend pairing it with at least one dragon type. Otherwise though, perhaps Lantern for a different electric type? Up next we have the ground type. With Galarian Stunfisk banned in this format, Steelix picks up the slack as the ground steel type of the Jungle Cup. Now it's obviously bulky and provides nice coverage, but you also have the choice of running either Breaking Swipe or Psychic Fangs. Since Breaking Swipe's nerfed though, I think I'd prefer going for Psychic Fangs, especially with poison types like Dragalge and Clodsire being threatened by Psychic Fangs. And another viable ground type for Jungle Cup is Quagsire. Now both it and Whiscash are very similar, but I think Stone Edge proves to be a very useful tool here, allowing you to hit hard against flying types and Charjabug. And Aqua Tail's recent buff makes me want to give the edge to Quagsire over Whiscash, not that the latter isn't also good here. And beyond those, there's obviously the OG, Swampert, who will have a presence here, and perhaps also Gliscor, who may be vulnerable to water, but still has a nice resistance to fighting, ground, and electric, letting it play around Vigoroth, Charjabug, and several others. Onto the flying type, Mandibuzz is a pretty obvious choice here. It's a typical bulky pick who saw a nice boost when Aerial Ace was buffed. And while there's not a ton of this meta that it actually resists, it's still got the defenses to withstand a lot of Pokemon's moves in this format. Because it doesn't resist much here though, I'd say it isn't the safest swap, but it's still great for adding bulk to your team. On the other side of the type is Mantine, who is also pretty bulky and also saw a boost with the Aerial Ace buff. Having flying and ice coverage here is definitely advantageous, allowing Mantine to be able to handle not just other flying types, but also ground and grass types like Gliscor and Abomasnow respectively. And rounding out our choices, we have the Dark type, and there's obviously Mandibuzz, who we mentioned previously, along with some other bulky Dark types like Scrafty, Umbreon, and Zweilous, but it's actually Guzzlord who I'd like to highlight specifically here. While there are fairy types present in this cup like Wigglytuff and maybe Whimsicott, I don't really expect them to be too common, and that allows Guzzlord to have a lot more to chew on. If you use it, I would definitely plan on using some Pokemon to counter those with fighting moves like Vigoroth, but Guzzlord does have a lot of power over things like Mandibuzz, Gliscor, and most of the water and grass types. I've been using Guzzlord in the Open Great League, and I think I'll be trying it here too. Speaking of which, let's move on to some sample teams to try out. I think the one I'll be testing when the Jungle Cup starts up is Clodsire, Dragalge, and Guzzlord. You can substitute Dragalge for Zweilous, giving you a more traditional Poison Double Dark team, but I think Dragalge's water coverage is more intriguing though it does leave your team more vulnerable to things like Whiscash or Stunfisk. If you try out this team, let me know which second slot you choose. I will note that this team has some weaknesses to Steel types, but there aren't too many of them beyond Steelix, so I'd say it's a pretty solid team. Next up, we have Quagsire, Charjabug, and Abomasnow. Now these three offer a much wider range of coverage, seeing that you're getting water, ground, rock, electric, bug, ice, and grass. Quagsire and Charjabug offer pretty solid coverage to each other, and Abomasnow makes for a nice closer. You can opt for either the normal or Shadow Abomasnow here. I think the Shadow might work just a little bit better with its quicker speed of damage, but I do think the standard version running Icy Wind can be good as well. But lastly, we have a team with Skarmory, Vigoroth, and Wigglytuff. Now I know I didn't highlight Wigglytuff, but I wanted to stick it in a team here. It is a rather one-dimensional Pokemon, so I can't say this will be the safest team out there, but it can still make for a strong closer to catch some people off guard, especially if they run something like the first team with Guzzlord in the back. Skarmory and Vigoroth are obvious choices, but I'll note that Vigoroth as a safe swap against things like Charjabug and Talonflame can be a bit risky. This isn't necessarily the team I'd try, but I do think having a Charmer in the back could lead to some interesting victories. But that just about wraps up this prep guide. Down in the comments below, let me know what Pokemon you're thinking of running in this cup. And if you need help building a team and have a few Pokemon in mind, let us know that as well. We'd be happy to help. And if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming videos, including different prep guides and analyses. Until next time though, thank you so much for watching, and we wish you all the best of luck in the Jungle Cup. Take care.